Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be quite short and informal in the sense that I haven't done any research about it. It's essentially me voicing my opinions and thoughts on accusations of bias and a lack of impartiality on my part and also the part of anyone else out there who has ultimately decided to side with one person or one party over the other. It seems that people are mistaking impartiality for fence sitting. So I want to start off by very briefly defining impartiality. I'm talking about impartiality when examining and dealing with a case, as we are doing with the case of Johnny and Amber. So impartiality is the act of making a decision or viewing a case free from any undue influence, bias, prejudice, or preconceived notions. And of course, that is a very integral quality that must be exhibited by judges when assessing cases. Now, this video is not about Mr. Justice Nickel. I just wanted to point that out there. This is more about accusations of people who support Johnny and believe in his innocence being biased, of course, including myself. Now, impartiality and an unbiased view kicks in and is very integral when you are assessing a case. You must be open-minded, you must hear both sides, and you must approach it from a point of view where you haven't already made up your mind. That is the hallmark of an impartial person. Upon reviewing the facts and evidence in this open-minded state, you then must render a verdict. There comes a time when even judges and a jury must make a decision which involves siding with someone. So the act of eventually siding with someone is not a lack of impartiality or a biased act. So using my case, for example, when Amber's accusations first surfaced in 2016, I was already a lifelong fan of Johnny's at that time, but I believed her. And I've said this in my very first video that I've ever made on that topic, and I've repeated it since then. I believed Amber, and I went as far as to say that I am now going to boycott Johnny's movies because I cannot support someone who does that to their partner. Then earlier this year, when I became aware of Incredibly Average's YouTube channel, Brian, and I watched his videos hours on end and educated myself and then did further research on my own, I wanted to do my due diligence. And I did, which led to the very first video that I published on the 8th of May, I believe, of this year. I approached the case with an open mind because I believed Amber and I was a fan of Johnny's. You see what I'm trying to say? I wasn't siding with anyone. I wanted to hear from both sides as much as possible. Of course, I'm not in direct contact with these people, so it is going to be limited in some way. But after approximately a month of doing my own research, I arrived at the conclusion, based on the facts and the evidence, that Johnny is the victim. Now, no one is claiming Johnny is perfect. No one is claiming he's an angel. He has his own issues and he knows it. So I'm strictly talking here of the allegations that Amber has been making against him for the last 4 and a bit years. None of it adds up. All of the evidence is stacked up against her and sides with Johnny. So after that analysis, with an impartial and open mind, I decided that Johnny is telling the truth. And I've heard from many other supporters of Johnny that that's their approach as well. A lot of people believed Amber to begin with because she was the only one out there talking. Johnny was keeping quiet. So we never got to hear his side of the story until the evidence started to come out. And this is where the problem kicks in. People seem to think that once you take a side, you are automatically and immediately biased and lacking in impartiality. But then that means that every judge under the sun and every member of the jury is biased because they eventually took a side and rendered a verdict. Last year, I was actually in a quite difficult situation in the sense that there was a case that I was involved in, which involved people that I knew personally, not just removed clients that I have no prior relationship with. Now, I wasn't directly involved in this one because I was very close to the case. The police were actually in charge. It was a criminal case, and I'm not a criminal prosecutor, but of course, this person needed my help, and I helped them pro bono, for free, every step of the way. The problem is, because it was a personal case, of course, we had our friends who were also involved. And a number of them thought that they were taking the moral high ground and were being impartial by being neutral and refusing to stand with the victim, even though they had firsthand knowledge of the crimes that have been committed against that victim. If you openly know, and you've even at some point to some extent witnessed the crimes happening, and you still refuse to side with the victim or to help the victim by giving them the evidence that they need. Sometimes people have text messages from the perpetrator or Facebook messages, and this friend holds on to them because they don't want to take sides. So I don't want to aggravate the perpetrator, so I don't want to give you the evidence that very clearly supports your case. That's not impartiality. It's actually quite disheartening and a very negative trait to have as a human being. If you see someone who has been wronged and who has been abused, and they're your friend, but you also happen to be the perpetrator's friend, and you have evidence that proves these crimes, or you've witnessed the perpetrator do the things that the victim is alleging, and you still refuse to provide this evidence, you still refuse to involve yourself, I'm sorry, but that's just pure selfishness. That's just you looking out for yourself and hiding behind the guise of being impartial. And it seems that these people are just mistaking impartiality with fence sitting. So that's really all I wanted to talk about in this video. I know that we all have different personalities, and a lot of us may not want to involve ourselves in certain things. And for me, it really depends on the gravity of the issue. If it's a very serious case, for example, sexual assault, and a friend came to me and I had evidence to help them, I wouldn't think of how I don't want to involve myself. But if it's a very petty situation, drama, gossip, just childish things, I may choose not to involve myself. So it does depend on the context. I'm not saying you have to insert yourself in every single situation, big or small. But for me, and I can only speak for myself, when it's a grave situation, and when I think that it warrants my involvement in some way, if I can help someone, if I can help the truth come out, if I can help a victim's allegations be substantiated, I will do it. That's it for this video. As I said, it was all just pure thoughts and opinions, and I suppose explanations, at least from a legal context, of the concept of impartiality. I hope it helped in some way. The next time someone attacks you for being biased just because you've sided with someone, you can explain to them you were impartial in the fact-finding phase, but then upon reviewing the facts and the evidence, you made up your mind. Do let me know what you think in the comments below. I know that I cannot be alone in this. I'm sure a lot of you have been accused of being biased, and especially in Johnny's case, of just blindly following whatever Johnny says and covering up for his deeds simply because he is Johnny Depp, which in my case couldn't be further from the truth. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll catch you in a future video.